served our country with honor. They gave of themselves so we can live free. They returned home and continue to serve our community. They are the men and women of South Georgia. They are the heroes among us. WALB News 10's Heroes Among Us, brought to you by Montlick and Associates.
Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us for this special presentation of Heroes Among Us. I'm Quillen Parker. Each month, WALB and Montlick and Associates take the time to recognize and honor the heroes among us. We spotlight an active duty man or woman, veteran or fallen hero. Over the next half hour, you'll get to see the impacts these people have in their community. These are the heroes among us. Staff Sergeant Ray Humphrey is a humble hero who spends much of his time giving back to veterans in South Georgia. He's been all over the world serving in the Air Force, but his greatest accomplishment, serving his community.
Well, it's basically a life-changing time in my life. I was born and raised here in South Georgia, hadn't spent out of the state very much. The next thing I knew, I was walking around all over the foreign lands, England, France, Germany, Vietnam, Cambodia. It was just a total shock to be the places that I went to go.
Humphrey is an Air Force veteran whose strength and humbleness shine through his experiences.
Not to take anything for advantage, because you never know who's going to be there the next day and who's not.
His proudest accomplishment, giving back to others who have served.
Being able to continue to serve the community, you know, with the American Legion, we do a lot, you know, and I'm just one of those people that has to do something. I've been the commander of a post for the American Legion for 15 years, and I was 5 years commander of the 12th District of Georgia, and now I'm a junior vice commander for the Department of Georgia. So serving the community, serving the nation, serving my constituents.
Humphrey presents the flag at about 120 funerals a year. It's truly a labor of love.
We're going to fire 3 blasts from, we've got a black powder cannon. We're going to fire a cannon 3 times. The first one will be for the duty that those people served. The second one is for the honor with which they served. And the third one's the country they served and loved.
Serving in the military is a brave act he encourages to those looking for guidance.
I think everybody should try to serve in the country. You know, it gives you a whole new perspective of life. And you understand what those that fought before us for our freedoms that we have today went through.
Humphrey's passion for giving back and honoring veterans all ties back to his own experiences.
How close was it to being me, you know, that didn't get to come back? You know, there were so many of them, and I had a lot of friends that didn't come back. And so you learn the value of life.
Commander Clarence Williams has a 22-year military career under his belt. He is the first Albany State University graduate to become a Navy aviator. Any adversity Williams faced, he turned into an opportunity for change.
And so I had to deal a lot with racial issues in the Navy, helping the young kids understand what they needed to do and serve as a mentor for them. Most of us don't know that during the Vietnam War, we had a carrier that was shut down because of a race riot. And so part of the cure for that, the Chief of Naval Operations put a lot of emphasis on recruiting qualified minorities to go in the officer corps, and that's how I got caught up in it. You know, they came to Albany State in 71, 72, and they recruited people like me.
The result, a 22-year military career and the first Albany State graduate to become a Navy aviator.
Only flown once in my whole life, and so to be chosen for flight school was a wake-up call for me. So I had to really, you know, come with my A game.
And that he did. Any adversity Williams faced, he turned into an opportunity for change.
To be able to stay afloat, normally you'd have 1 life belt. It took at least 2 to keep me up. The bone density of African Americans is different in some way. We just don't float very well. The longer I stayed in, we came up with programs. One of them was called the Tadpole Program. Anytime that a minority was selected for aviation, the Navy gave an opportunity to come down to Pensacola and go through the swimming, before they got started in the academics, and that's made a big difference.
Now, that kind of advocacy continues through a passion for education and helping others.
Just be focused. You know, if you go into school, as you go through, you're pretty much through with those phases, and you move on to the next. And that leaves a legacy, a fingerprint that people use for you to be able to qualify to get into other areas, you know. So I tell kids all the time, you know, be good students. Have a good time, but be a good student.
And as his success illustrates, work hard, it'll pay off later.
Like I said, whatever you do the best you can. It comes back to you.
Tech Sergeant Alice Hicks has spent the last 4 years in South Georgia helping countless people looking for guidance. Hicks is an Air Force recruiter, but began her career in the medical field, found a passion for helping others, and never looked back.
So I haven't quite journeyed overseas yet, but I have been to pretty much coast to coast to coast with Washington, New Jersey, California, Georgia.
Tech Sergeant Hicks is nearing the end of her 4-year contract in South Georgia. Along the way, she's continued her passion for recruiting.
It's amazing to be able to say that I have, been a part of someone being able to start a fabulous career, and I'm grateful for all the people that I've been able to put in. I'm just, grateful for what I've been able to do so far.
Her love for helping others stems from her parents, her dad serving 20 years in the Air Force, and her mother 8.
My dad was a recruiter during 9/11. And I just remember this floods of people coming in and how he was able to help him, and I really wanted to be part of that. And I have had such a great opportunity to do that here in Southwest Georgia.
And although her family is getting ready to start a new adventure, she's changed lives along the way and truly enjoyed the area.
It's a great place to raise a family, and I have a 9-year-old son, and I just had twins here 7 months ago. Thank you. So for them to be born here, I'm really proud of that, and I'm glad that we'll be able to say we've experienced all this stuff in Georgia and the twins being born here.
She says supporting and defending the Constitution is something that is still alive and well.
Being part of 1% of the population that serves is a huge deal, and I would say go for it. It is a great journey. You'll get so much experience, life skill, work skills out of it, and it's something I should say, go for it. You'll never know until you experience it yourself.
Lieutenant Colonel Michael Gohagen of Ashburn was drafted 3 different times. He was hesitant at first, but little did he know his hesitancy would turn into a 25-year Army career and 2 tours in Vietnam.
And they said, man, you're too old for airborne school. We'll send you to others. I said, no, I got people. What kind of commander would I be that waved bye-bye to my people on the ramp? So they agreed to send me.
To Korea, that is, at 40 years old, after 2 Cobra combat tours in Vietnam.
He says, no, I tell you, I know how it is, it's pride, but I'll arrange to send a messenger out there on your first day telling you have an urgent call from there, and you come back and we'll just send you out. And I said, no, you won't. He said, well, it's going to hurt you. Yeah. I said, I'm in. So I did well.
As a mentor, community leader, and veteran, Michael Gohagen always gives 100%. That mindset all stems from his grandfather, who had a farm right up the road from his current house in Ashburn. His family has been in the area since 1888.
My grandfather had 2 tenets. You always do the absolute best you can. You always keep your word no matter how hard it hurts, and you're always kind to other people. So I live with that.
And that kindness extends to his fellow veterans, who he loves just as much as his family. Gohagen says he joined the American Legion to help others, but that has actually helped him.
There's always somebody that cares. You just got to find them. There are people everywhere. A lot of people care, but they don't know how to care. The Legion teaches them how. To slid me through life is that thought there's always somebody, and I was always that somebody to somebody. So if you're going to give, you'll receive. And it's kept me alive. Quite frankly, I'd been dead a long time ago if it hadn't been for friends like that.
Gerald Thompson is a World War II veteran in Tifton. He says his faith keeps him going. He served on USS Jefferson as it invaded Normandy in 1944. He says they didn't lose a single man.
There was a good Christian man. He was in World War I, and he told me when I was 18, he said, "You're gonna have to go." He said, "Let me give you some advice." He said, "Go in the Navy, don't go in the Army." He said, "If you go in the Army, you'll lie a bed down in the swamp, wherever you are. In the Navy, you'll have good food and a good place to sleep as long as your ship stays afloat." And I took his advice and I joined the Navy.
Thompson served on USS Jefferson as it invaded Normandy in 1944.
We were in Weymouth, England, going to leave out for the beach at Normandy. And our American planes come in, and the German planes right behind them, and the radar didn't pick them up. There was a bomb dropped side of our ship, which was probably aimed at. It dented in the ship, but if it had hit it where I was stationed, I'd have been cut to splinters. Wow. I told the Lord then, I said, "If you'll let me go home, back to my family, I'll serve you." And he did.
He says they didn't lose a single man. Now he has a family of more than 100 and a century to look back on.
But God rung my bell, and I raised my family in church. We just had 9 children, 7 boys and 2 girls.
Now he's back at home in South Georgia, surrounded by loved ones and his new puppy.
I'm 101. I was June the 27th. I was 101.
In those years, he's learned a lot. His advice to others:
fellowship. Fellowship means a lot to people. Don't sit at home and think of nobody but yourself. Mingle, get around.
U.S. Army Staff Sergeant Lisa White has a passion for helping others find their path. She was first stationed in Korea, traveling the world straight out of college. And now, more than a decade later, she's in South Georgia helping others get those same opportunities.
Starting out, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to do 2-3 years, and here I am, almost 11 years. But no, it's been nothing short of amazing, and I recommend it to anyone.
Staff Sergeant White was first stationed in Korea, traveling the world straight out of college.
They quickly accepted me. I loved Korea. The people there are amazing. The food is amazing. Highly recommend the food there. But yeah, just seeing a different world. It was totally different for what I was used to, and I wish I can go back.
And now, more than a decade later, she's in South Georgia, helping others get those same opportunities.
Well, I decided to stay for the simple fact that it bettered my life. I was able to continue my education, able to travel the world, and it's a bond, it's a connection that I don't think I will be able to find anywhere else. And me knowing that now is what inspired me to become a recruiter in hopes to give, other people what I was awarded.
And now that hard work is paying off in a very special way.
Getting those phone calls like, "Hey, Sergeant White, thank you. You saved my life," or, I'm graduating with my bachelor's now, and it just pushes me to keep doing what I'm doing.
She says she plans on calling South Georgia home for a while, continuing to leave an imprint on recruits.
I would say the biggest thing is to never give up. There was a time where I'm like, you know what? I don't know what I'm doing. College is not working out, whatever. But honestly, I stayed positive. And I made sure to just kind of keep my head on straight. So that's what I try to instill in the younger community. Like, hey, I know life is hard. College is not easy. Sometimes the job is not your favorite. But hey, let's put you towards something that will be beneficial for not just now, but maybe 10, 11 years. And you will look back and say, thank you. I'm glad that all worked out.
You're watching WALB News 10's Heroes Among Us.
When you're a top athlete devoted to your sport, every move counts, and winning means everything. At Montlick Injury Attorneys, we've devoted 40 years to perfecting our winning formula. We've got the right team and resources and the right motivation. At Montlick, the reason we win is you. If you're injured, speak with a Montlick attorney now for free. Call #WIN from your cell phone. That's pound 946. Get more money with Montlick.
Welcome back to WALB News 10's Heroes Among Us, brought to you by Montlick & Associates.
Dr. George Chastain, a now retired physician, went into the Air Force during his first year of post-grad at Emory. He was later sent to Vietnam to serve as a flight medical officer, but it was the work that he did in an orphanage in South Vietnam that impacted him the most.
I went to Vietnam and I did what I was supposed to do, but there was a lot of time to do something else, or I could have done a lot of things.
But Dr. Chastain chose to visit the orphanage and regularly give needed medical aid to children. The former physician went into the Air Force and served 2 years stateside and was then sent to Vietnam to serve as a flight medical officer. But it was the work he did while he wasn't in the air that impacted him most.
It was a breath of fresh air to me as much as it was anything else, because I saw kind, gentle people.
Dr. Chastain was impressed by the dedication of the nuns who operated the orphanage, but also how ill-equipped they were to practice medicine.
I had to be very careful, because if I told them something that they should do, the next thing I know, while I was talking, they were out there doing it. I mean, they just reacted that fast.
Being away from his family was difficult, but he cared for the children as if they were his own.
They meant the world to me, and for a long period of time, they were my world.
When Dr. Chastain came back home, much like many others who served in the armed forces, suffered from PTSD, one of the darkest moments in his life, but he still clinged on to his faith.
Guys over there were losing their faith in their God. It helped me regain mine, and that was very important to me.
Lieutenant Colonel Dr. Tanya Chers retired after 25 years of service in the U.S. Army. Dr. Chers went into the military to help take the burden off her parents paying for school, but her mission quickly changed. Once she was in, she had no reservations.
It has its ups and downs, but overall it was a good format for postgraduate training.
Dr. Chers, born and raised in Albany, knew without a doubt she wanted to serve her country.
It was a no-brainer. I didn't have any reservation.
She used the experience to help shape and mold her into who she is now. Her service included tours of duty at some of the top hospitals in the country, including Walter Reed Army Hospital.
One thing about the military is very regimented and very structured, so it gives you very good organization skills, and in addition to supervisory skills. So it was a very rewarding experience and very educational. I think it prepared me for my retirement when I elected to go to the state of North Carolina.
Chers, who served in the U.S. Army Medical Corps for 25 years and ranked lieutenant colonel, switched specialties because she felt there was a need in the mental health arena.
And so a lot of them came in with a lot of, distress and anxiety. And when you work in a busy family practice clinic, you only have a brief period of time to do your examination and get everything done.
She then served tours at Fort Belvoir, Fort Tacoma, Fort McPherson, and Fort Bragg, where she retired to work in psychiatry.
It is a dedication and a commitment. And my primary goal, my focus was to keep the Army strong and healthy so that it can continue to provide the necessary services to protect our country. But whatever your dreams are, you should just follow your dreams in your heart. And the thing about it, you should not go into a career hoping that it'll be what you want it to be when you're not certain about it.
This year, we honored a fallen military hero. Colonel Ralph Pucket passed in April. It was the last surviving Medal of Honor recipient from the Korean War. The Tifton native made a huge impact, being one of the most well-known Army heroes in the nation.
Colonel Pucket kind of lived above and beyond what we'd expect of any other Ranger.
Colonel Ralph Pucket Jr., a Tifton native, was active duty for 22 years and received multiple awards, including 5 Purple Hearts and 2 Distinguished Service Crosses. Despite all his accolades, Colonel Pucket was mostly known for being compassionate, integral, and a man of humility.
We've got the entire Ranger Creed that describes Colonel Pucket, but I'd also say integrity, follow through, and heart.
Among the awards Colonel Pucket received, the Medal of Honor presented by President Joe Biden in 2021 for his service during the Korean War.
It really is representative of the great American spirit of the American soldier that is willing to go in harm's way for the benefit of others.
Colonel Pucket did just that in 1950 during the Korean War, multiple times as a commander to protect his fellow Army Rangers.
What it really represents is not really so much that the individual receiving the medal, but everyone that served with that person. The people that were to their left, to their right, that followed them in the combat that day. It really is representative of the great American spirit of the American soldier that is willing to go in harm's way for the benefit of others. Look at the American flag, and you think about everything that flag represents to us. You know, the red stripes that were given for the blood that was given for it, the white stripes for innocence and purity, the blue for justice. But there's a thing in there that holds all of that together, and that's the thread. The thread woven in and out of all of that fabric that holds our democracy together. That's Colonel Pucket to me.
Corporal William Cobb's entire family is built around the military, so it's no surprise he joined as well. Cobb decided to join the Marine Corps as an aviation mechanic and later became a military police officer. You won't find William Cobb serving under oath, the same as he was a couple of years ago as you would now.
They asked me what my goal is going to be. I was like, I serve my country. Doing the military, I really want to serve my community.
Corporal Cobb comes from a military family background and decided to join the Marine Corps as an aviation mechanic, then venturing off to become a military police officer. While on a mission, there were issues with a rotor head. Cobb went up the 25-foot-tall aircraft when he encountered a simple yet painful injury that required a tedious recovery that took this soldier off the battlefield.
There was some grease that was on a platform when I grabbed that. It caused me to fall backward to the side of the aircraft and then to the ground. Because of that, it caused a bunch of damage to the back of my head, my neck, my back, and then later on started causing nerve damage down the left side of my leg and my arm.
William went back to school, but after he got a taste of military police, he couldn't let law enforcement go.
Doing military police, it was a great job. And I got to work with, the community on base, and it was just a great big part of what I love doing.
Cobb started out at the Colquitt County Jail and is now a deputy, keeping his oath to serve and protect.
Obviously, I'm not in the military mindset anymore, but being in law enforcement, it's there, it's laid out, and it's really nice. So the job itself is very similar.
As far as Williams' outlook on the military,
it changes you for the better, and I don't regret it, and I never would have changed anything different about it. If that's something that someone wants to pursue, I highly recommend it.
Born and raised here in South Georgia, hadn't been out of the state very much.
They came to Albany State and they recruited people like me.
And he told me when I was 18, he said, "You're gonna have to go."
It gives you a whole new perspective of life.
I have been to pretty much coast to coast to coast with Washington, New Jersey, California, Georgia.
England, France, Germany, Vietnam, Cambodia. It was just a total shock to be the places that I went to go.
Went to Vietnam and I did what I was supposed to do.
You always do the absolute best you can. You always keep your word no matter how hard it hurts, and you're always kind to other people, so I live with that.
You learn the value of life.
I was able to continue my education, able to travel the world, and it's a bond, it's a connection that I don't think I will be able to find anywhere else.
They meant the world to me, and for a long period of time, they were my world.
It is a dedication and a commitment.
It changes you for the better, and I don't regret it, and I never would have changed anything different about it.
It really is representative of the great American spirit of the American soldier that is willing to go in harm's way for the benefit of others.
I serve my country. Doing the military, I really want to serve my community.
I'm just one of those people that has to do something.
Whatever you do the best you can. It comes back to you.
You are watching WALB News 10's Heroes Among Us. brought to you by Montlick & Associates.
When you're a top athlete devoted to your sport, every move counts, and winning means everything. At Montlick Injury Attorneys, we've devoted 40 years to perfecting our winning formula. We've got the right team and resources and the right motivation. At Montlick, the reason we win is you. If you're injured, speak with a Montlick attorney now for free. Call #WIN from your cell phone. That's #946. Get more money with Montlick.
Welcome back to WALB News 10's Heroes Among Us, brought to you by Montlick & Associates.
Commander Williams, how are you?
Just fine.
We want to let you know that you are the winner for this year's Heroes Among Us. The people have voted, they have spoken, and so we actually have a gift for you on behalf of WALB and Montlick & Associates. We want to show you just how much you are appreciated. We want to thank you for your service, your hard work. Even after you served our country, you're still serving our community, and so we just want to say thank you.
Well, thank you. My wife suspected that this was the case when you told me you interviewed everybody else. That didn't sound right.
Is there anything that you would like to say?
Hey, just thank you. A lot of times we don't get the recognition that we deserve or need to keep going on, so I just want to say thank you.
Of course, and we thank you for your service. Thank you.
Sure.
We'd like to thank the brave men and women who have served and those serving our country at home and abroad right now. You are the heroes among us. If you know a man or woman who served our country and continues to impact their community, nominate them for Heroes Among Us. Head over to our website, WALB.com, click on the Heroes Among Us tab, fill out the form, and you're done. We'll continue to share these stories on the last Thursday of each month right here on WALB. And we'd also like to give a special thanks to the World War II Flight Training Museum in Douglas and the Georgia Veterans State Park in Cordele for opening their doors to us. Thank you for joining us.